One of the things that you mentioned with Stenson that I've heard in the past is like he really smashes the ball. It's almost like there's this downward, smash through the strike.
It's different noise when he hits the ball at his best, as Henry.
Yeah.
There's a few players that do that. Yeah, I think, and again, if you look at when I talk about the golf swing, I talk about it trying to create simplicity for the golfer to realize what we're talking about here. If we go too much in depth in muscle structure and everything, what I always say to players is, right, think of the golf swing as a car, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to win every race, what do you want your engine to be? You want it to be the most efficient, never break down, and have the most power, don't you?
Right.
That's what you want your engine to be, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So we want the best engine. We want the best steering, so you know exactly where it's going to go. And we want the best fuel and the driver. But let's assume that we had all those four things. Why do we not win the race? Purely and simply because the transmission doesn't transfer the energy to the steering well enough in that engine. So it's the transmission that is not actually working properly. So unless I sort the transmission out, it doesn't matter how good the engine is, it doesn't matter how good the steering is or how good the driver of the fuel. If I don't sort the transmission out, then I can't win the races. Once I've sorted the transmission out, fine, I'm going to probably win every race. But I need to sort that. So then the golf swing becomes, right, what do you want your body to do in the golf swing? Never miss a beat and create as much power as you can and do the same thing time and time again. Yeah.
Yep.
So your body's the engine.
Yep.
Your arm, hand, and club movement are the steering, and they should know where you've got to go to hit whatever shot. And your brain's the fuel and the driver. So all of a sudden, I've got all those, and they're all great, but I'm hitting the ball all over the place. Why? Because the linkage or the transmission from the engine to the steering is no good. So what is the transmission? What is the linkage? And Ledbetter almost did it years ago when he got the towel drill under his arms and tied his arm swing up to his body with Faldo, but no power.
Yeah.
But very straight.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we're now doing, what we're seeing is that we're seeing that great body action. We're seeing where we know where the arm, hand, and club movement, but what transfers the energy to the actual steering and what transfers all that power? Well, in putting the towel drill under your arm, you're actually stopping the transmission of the power going to the steering. You're just locking it in. So what I always ask, what is the transmission in the golf swing? What is the linkage? What transfers the energy from the body to the arm, hand, and club movement? The shoulder movement. The shoulder.
Yeah. The chest, shoulder right here. Yeah.
The shoulder, the actual rotator cuff, the lats, and the triceps. If you get your lead shoulder and your lead arm loading correctly and unloading correctly, both shoulders, then all of a sudden you're going to add power. You don't get a boxer that boxes without loading his shoulders. He loads his shoulders to deliver the blow from the body movement. So all of a sudden, you've got to load your shoulders relative to the shot you want to play. So when I ask players, can you load your shoulders for a fade for me? Can you load your shoulders for a draw for me? Because it's what's going to transfer the energy from the actual engine to the steering. So I want to know that the transmission is transferring the energy correctly to the proper steering movement. So do we all know how to actually load the shoulders for a fade or load the shoulders for a draw? Well
let's show it. Can you show me that? The load it for a fade versus a draw.
Yeah, well, if you go back and sit your shoulders down and move my shoulders under my chest, then I'm forcing my arms in and the club out. So I get the actual draw motion without chasing the line. Now, if I get my shoulders up and move my arms down, so I'm creating a slightly out to in path with loaded shoulders one way or the other that I can match to the body movement. But I'm now loading the shoulders. I'm not relying on the shoulders being locked in.
Interesting.
That's the simplistic view of it. So if your lead shoulder is doing the right thing lead shoulder, left arm for the right-handed player, right-handed for the left-handed player. Load your shoulder and release that one way or the other, your shoulder muscle structure, then all of a sudden your path matches what you intend to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so there's only one common denominator I've seen between all great players when they play well. All great players have one common denominator, and I've not seen any more than one common denominator between them all. And that is that they all get it in the correct delivery position relative to the shot they're actually trying to play.
Yeah.
It impacts too late, far too late.
Right.
They're in the correct delivery. So when they're playing at their best, the best players get the club in the correct delivery relative to the shot they're trying to play. Draw delivery, fade delivery, straight delivery, low shot, high shot, whatever. Yeah. So they're actually in position way before impact. And right, even delivery in some cases, it's too late.